Welcome back to the Lou Perez Podcast. My name is Lou Perez, and I'm happy to report that right now you can order my book. That's right, I wrote a book. It's called That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, on the death and rebirth of comedy. Follow the link in the description or head over to Amazon and search for Lou Perez, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. If you want other options on how you can buy my book, please sign up for my newsletter at thelouperez.com. You could also join my community at thelouperez.locals.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you could leave a 5-star review, that would be amazing. Whether you're a long-time listener or a first-time, 5-star reviews are lovely. If you're looking for other ways you can support me, you could do so by supporting my sponsors. If you're into CBD products, please check out PalomaVerdeCBD.com. Use promo code Lou to get 25% off purchases over $75. And if you like cold brew, check out Black Organic Cold Brew at www.blvckbrew.com and use promo code Lou for free shipping. All right, let's go. Joining me today, I'm happy to have him on. He is an old friend. We've been friends, I think we might be getting close to like 20 years of friendship. Which,
I think it is.
Which is pretty wild. He's
this is the
one of
anniversary.
What's up?
This is the anniversary. This would be the 20-year mark. Yeah, I think this is it.
I didn't want you to think I forgot. That's why I set up having you on my podcast, which is the cheapest gift I could give to somebody to celebrate an anniversary.
Nowadays, that's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who might not recognize his voice, he's one of my favorite comedians. On top of being a good friend and a collaborator too, who I've had the honor and the privilege of working with for on and off for 20 years. Yeah. Please welcome Harry Terjanian, everybody.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for having me. The 20th year anniversary. It is 20 years since we met at NYU. And in the comedy writing class is where we met, actually, ironically.
That's right. And just so you know, Harry, I've had Frank Morano on, who's also in that comedy writing class.
Okay, yeah, I kind of vaguely remember Frank. Yeah.
And I've had the man himself, the legend, Barry Goldsmith.
Wow. So I'm the third person from this writing class from 20 years ago that you had on your podcast.
Yeah, it was hard to get everybody else because they're all dead.
Wow.
There's this curse.
Are you saying our comedy writing class at NYU is the equivalent of Snoop Dogg's Pee Wee football team, where half of the people there are either dead or in jail?
Wait a second, please expand on that. That's a real thing?
That's a true story. Yeah, I forget if it was a true life, one of those things, some MTV documentary, and Snoop Dogg. I guess it might have been a factoid. They go half his Pee Wee football team, as of today, is either dead or in jail. Wow. That was like half of his. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's what I remember.
Yeah, him being so high profile that it almost leaves open like that he's responsible for that in some way.
Yeah,
like
no, I don't think
some weird butterfly effect, but it's the Snoop Dogg effect.
I mean, I don't think they're blaming him, but now that you bring it up, I mean, there might be a Netflix documentary in that.
Yeah, it's so wild, like the amount of rappers, or in the gangster rap genre, who went from being like gangsters to being, like Snoop Dogg hangs out with like Martha Stewart, or at least on TV he's appeared with Martha Stewart.
Well, he did a commercial with Lee Iacocca, if I remember.
Wait, what? Yeah, Iacocca's still around?
This might have been a while ago. I don't know if it's a recent one, but if my memory was that he did a commercial with Lee Iacocca. These might all be signs of dementia. I might just be making these things up. I don't know why I have so much bizarre Snoop Dogg trivia.
I remember hearing, Lee Iacocca's Pee Wee football team. They all died in World War II. They were all on the same boat.
Right? Yeah, that's true. They all on D-Day when they were invading Normandy.
Exactly. They were all very brave. And Lee Iacocca is the one who made it through. Was he a car guy? Was he?
Lee Iacocca was the founder of Chrysler, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's where, and I guess Snoop Dogg was doing commercials for Chrysler or something. I don't remember why. That would be the only reason he would be in a commercial with Lee Iacocca, is my memory. I might have that completely wrong.
Yeah.
You could fact check that and it might come back.
Yeah. It is wild though. I do find it wild, like those. I don't know. It's a very weird world of celebrity where somehow those guys' paths cross, or like people think like, oh, let's put these two people together and make something of it.
Well, it does speak to the ability in show business. Given enough time, you can kind of really change your image, and also how much you change it. I assume Snoop Dogg is not the same person he was 30 years ago, where he's not out on the streets, and he's not. I don't remember the last time I ever heard of him getting in legal trouble. So
Right.
you can change. At least you could. And back in the day, you were able to sort of change your image. It's sort of the same thing. Like Mike Tyson is a fun guy now. We consider him fun, although I guess after he punched that guy out in the plane, Mike Tyson was sort of like a domesticated tiger that we forgot is still a tiger. And it was probably good that he beat up that guy on the plane to remind everybody he's still a dangerous man when he wants to be.
Yeah, with Tyson, there's a number of things that I've noticed. Like for one, that there is that that change that's taking place, like in pop culture, where he is like seen less as a dangerous man and more as kind of like a teddy bear. And a big thing is like people just seem to brush aside the fact that he was convicted of rape. Like so where are we in the the post? I don't know. I mean, it was we're in kind of like post Me Too movement, but it's like nobody really brings it up. I saw one journalist. I don't even recognize the guy, but he had brought it up, and it obviously it offended Mike Tyson to have that brought up to his face.
I saw that interview. I think that was in Canada. Ironically, it was which they're usually a lot politer there. I think sometimes.
Well, they're very polite, even when they're bringing up
even when they bring up your rape conviction. Yeah, because he said a lot of people are talking about why they're allowing somebody who's been a sex offender to perform, and he goes, nobody's bringing that up. You're the only one who's brought it up. You're the only one who's brought it up. No one has brought it up yet except you, which, people do forget. So it's interesting. I think there's a couple things with the Tyson thing. One, I watched a documentary on that trial, and there were some things that happened in that trial that are like, seem very, I don't want to say one-sided, but he kind of got railroaded in a lot of bad things, hiring the wrong lawyer for sure. I think for some people, there's a little bit of ambiguity about the reality of what happened with that trial. But also I think enough time had passed, and I don't think this can happen today anymore with the way we have social media. But if you're around long enough back in the day and you didn't, commit your offense again, the public kind of is forgiving, or they kind of move on from it, barring the fact that you have cleaned yourself up, so to speak, right? And I don't know if that exists anymore. I think that could happen back in the day where somebody could be, people could rehabilitate themselves if they were, I guess, good enough, or if they cleaned up their act, so to speak. Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other examples. They don't come to mind, but I know there's a bunch of, different people who, had been arrested. People did jail time back in the day, and they were still able to, get out of it and come back out and rehabilitate their career.
Yeah, and I remember this happened a lot. I mean, it was a long time ago. I mean, we were, kids at the time, and I remember just hearing rumors of, the adults talking about. There was like one conspiracy theory that like Don King was behind it. Don King set him up.
Sure, yeah.
There was that, and then there was also just people not believing the victim and saying like, "Oh, she's obviously lying." There was a thing, and you saw the documentary, so you're definitely more, you're closer to it than I am. But I remember people arguing like the next day she went and did like, it was either like a dance competition or something, or a performance, and it didn't look like, like on her face, like anything bad had happened.
Well, I don't remember. Here's the problem with me, Lou, is I will watch and read things, and I will, I'll do research, and then I'll immediately forget the details about what led me to have the feeling or the facts. So I'll read things within the world. This is why I don't debate people either, because I'm lousy at it. It's the equivalent of always, when you get into a fight with somebody verbally, and then you leave, and you're like, and the second you're driving home, you're like, God damn it, I forgot to say such as, oh man, now I remember what I should have said and all that.
That's me like years later. Like
Yeah.
it'll pop up years later, and I'm like,
Oh
I have
yeah.
the best comebacks. The best.
Oh, you'll
comebacks.
do it years later.
Yeah.
I'm worse because I'll do it, but I'll do it at a 45-minute thing, right? I'll remember stuff on the way home, so I can't go. Give me 45 minutes. I'll be right back with a retort, and I'll
There,
explain why. Whatever, you shouldn't buy cryptocurrency. That's not even a real one, but whatever. Like I'll explain.
I have a great comeback for you, but
Yeah.
I have to wait another year. It's going to take 21 years.
Oh,
for me
geez. The
for me to
statute
get
of
it.
limitations is going
Yeah.
to run out, and that's how.
Just one more thing about like Tyson. I'm not saying we have to move on from it.
I was informed that this was a Mike Tyson podcast. Am I wrong about that, Lou?
I've been trying to get him on, but I feel like now if I was ever to get him on, and I think people would now expect me, I would have a duty to bring up the rape conviction,
right? And that's going to be rough. Yeah,
it's gonna be rough because can I bring it up like whisper like at the end of it? But
how do you make it casual? Because he's not going to bring it up, so it's not like you can.
Yeah, he doesn't lead with that, and technically, isn't he supposed to? Isn't he supposed to bring it up every time he like moves to a new neighborhood or something like that? I guess
if he moves to the neighborhood, I don't know if that applies to appearances on podcasts and audio radio shows and what have you.
But there's something like the mythos of Mike Tyson, which isn't just the way that he would pronounce mythos. I think that's also how you would pronounce it. But like people will not allow the warrior to just rest, to just no longer be a warrior. Like the guy's in his 50s, I believe, like approaching I don't know how far away from 60 he is, and people are still like, oh, how would Mike Tyson do in the in a fight now against like a 20-year-old kid? Like what are you doing? And there's I don't know, it's very odd where people just won't allow that to be over. Like no one's calling for like Sugar Ray Leonard to like start fighting.
Well, it's interesting because I guess it shows you maybe the popularity of Mike Tyson, even though he was only world champion once, I believe. He goes down as being remembered as one of the greats, but part of that also was it transcended sports in the cultural phenomenon that it was. Maybe that's part of it. I mean, because Sugar Ray Leonard's certainly more decorated. He's certainly, as far as he didn't do any jail time, so he didn't miss years of fighting. I think part of it is it's just a celebrity and a phenomena that happened with him. The whole story out of boxing. So a lot of the times it's more interesting what the person's doing out of boxing. The fact that he did do jail time. The fact that he was getting into fist fights. And I don't know if this was a national story, but I do remember it being a local story when he would get into fistfights with Mitch Blood Green at Dapper Dan's in Harlem, the clothing store. It was a popular clothing store, and they were just two boxers who got into a fist fight, and so it was a lot of that stuff as well. Him yelling at people. So it's weird in the sense that we pay attention to a lot more negativity than we do the positivity. And luckily he was able to sort of turn that around into a more positive career, in the sense his one-man show was very good, is appearing in the Hangover films. So enough time had passed by that people look back nostalgically, and he's willing to do it. So I don't know, but he's willing to fight a 20-year-old kid who's not a professional boxer, so to speak.
No. I mean like people who are current, boxers, like current they want to see like Mike Tyson continue to fight, and it's a similar thing that happens in mixed martial arts with Nick Diaz, who's one of the Diaz brothers, is Nick and Nate Diaz. Brothers. And Nick is taken off from fighting for years, and for a number of reasons of why he's taken off from it, but like people just they still want to see him fight, even though it's like maybe the guy is just done with fighting, and it's like allow that to be, I don't know what it is to be a real athlete like that, and having to give it up or to reach that, that level. But, as an outsider looking in, like there are a lot of fighters who I really want them just to be done with fighting. It's like you did everything.
Because you love them too, if you understand the concept. So there's a couple things at play, I think, with that. One is our love of nostalgia. So it's the equivalent of going, man, I want to go see, Weezer, I guess, is still around. They're still producing new music. But like when you find out like Aerosmith's on tour or whatever, you're like, we got to go see Aerosmith, or Paul McCartney's on tour. I want to see Paul McCartney.
Right.
right? So because I loved his music when I was a kid or whatever. And so there is that. And I guess we still want that. It's just now, I think this is the first generation where fighters are actually doing it, maybe because there's enough nutrition and enough science to get them in a good shape, where it might have been different to get into fighting shape in 1985. I think that's part of it. It's just our love of nostalgia, and we're able to do it. We just love the stuff that reminds us of when we were young.
It's like, it's like we want a reboot in human form in a way.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. It's just, man, it would be great to get to watch. Like, I'll never be able to watch Wayne Gretzky again.
Right.
Right? So that's my sport is hockey. I love it, right? So I'll never be able to see him again. But you can see Mike Tyson once. Ric Flair's coming back to fight, for God's sake. He's 75 years old, and people will see it just so you can go, man, I got to see him do it one more time. I don't know. It's very strange because it's not going to be of quality, right? It can't be of quality, and it's not their fault as warriors, but you still want it. It's kind of like, it's just for nostalgia. It's just to be able to relive that for a moment. It's just an experience for a moment, I guess. Yeah. Which we all want that moment when we're younger, because when you're younger, the world has so much more potential. No matter how well you're doing now, I mean, a lot of people wish they were younger because they're not doing as great. The best time of your life is when you have a chance that anything could happen, right? So that was my whole feeling with the Trump thing, which was which a lot of people latched onto the "Make America Great Again." And when you realize, like, when you ask people when America was great, a lot of it is like, well, when I was younger and I had, back in the old days. And you're like, the old days. Oh, you mean when you had a fuller head of hair and you didn't have erectile dysfunction and
you understood the music,
right? You understood the music. You understood how to work your TV without getting frustrated. Yeah. That was when America was great, when I was young and banging chicks.
You brought up Gretzky, and my brothers, we had a VHS documentary about Wayne Gretzky going to the Soviet Union to play against and with Tretiak, the greatest, the great Soviet goaltender, and possibly the greatest goaltender, in hockey history. To be fair, my knowledge of hockey ends around 1996.
Right.
So I don't really know, how great the guys are now. But that was a documentary we used to pop in just all the time to watch. To watch these two.
Well, also when you're a kid, actually, when we were kids. See, I keep doing it. When you were a kid. No, it's not the same, because when we were kids, there's a very limited supply of entertainment. So if you built up a VHS collection, which was not easy to do, because it wasn't like, you can't just order everything online. You'd have to go to a store and pick it up, and you can only amass so much. You'd watch the same thing 27 times. I watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off maybe 100 times because I taped it off the TV. Right. I wouldn't even say it. It's probably not even in my 100 favorite movies, but for whatever reason, I had a copy of it. So as a kid, I would watch it over and over again. And now we're kind of the opposite, where there's so much stuff out there that you watch stuff once and then you're done with it. Like, I would listen to comedy albums over and over and over again. And now when somebody releases a special, I listen to it once while I'm doing something else, not fully paying attention. And then even if I like it, I never go back to it again. It's strange.
Yeah, I recently rewatched, I think it's probably my favorite movie, Groundhog Day.
Okay.
That might be my favorite movie, comedy or drama, just,
Interesting. Like it.
And we were watching it, and this is a movie I've seen, so many times. And my wife and I, Michelle and I, were talking about, was this like the last movie where everybody in it looked normal? Like,
you mean just the background players?
No, like even like the main act, like it was Bill Murray, Chris Elliott, Andy McDowell, who's a beauty. But she's like she's like a normal
girl next door. She's girl next door, beautiful. Yeah, exactly. She's not Hollywood starlet. Like,
And
I get what you're saying.
And everybody in Punxsutawney looks like they live in Punxsutawney.
I could believe it. You know, it's
Yeah.
funny. I'll watch movies, right? Because I have like body dysmorphia image issues because I've been fat all my life. So I will watch these movies. There's two movies I remember. I remember watching Superman versus Batman or whatever, which was pretty rough. And spoiler alert, there's a funeral scene. I'm not going to tell you who doesn't make it, but you could figure it out. And so there's a big, all of Metropolis or whatever is mourning the death of this superhero. And I go, not one fat person in Metropolis? Not one person has, insulin issues? Not one is.
That one.
They're all like rail thin people. And then you watch like Jaws, right? You watch the people who are the reporters in Jaws, and it's just people with comb overs and mismatched shirts, but they're real people.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you've ever done you've been part of press conferences, you've been on the other end of a press conference where you see like the journalists and people, they're not glamorous, beautiful people like all the time on camera, maybe, but like reporters are schlubby because they're writers, right? So it's funny that we don't show that in movies anymore at all. So you're right. That's an interesting theory. Like it might have been the last one where even the stars back in the day were not glamorous all the time.
Thinking about, like you brought up Jaws. It's like, was it Roy? Was it Scheider?
Roy Scheider, yeah.
Roy Scheider and what's his name? Mr. Holland's Opus. I can't.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Dreyfuss, and then the Irish guy.
I forgot what his name was. Oh man, I know his name too.
Yeah.
And they're not. None of them. I think Roy Scheider is the best looking of the bunch. I would say
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not like, there's no Channing Tatum. There's no abs. There's not an ab to be found in the movie Jaws. Like not one.
Well, also you've definitely seen this meme before where they'll have like Tom Cruise at age 50 and Wilford Brimley at age 50 and from Cocoon.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a world, a galaxy of difference. And
Abe Vigoda or Mickey Rooney, and you go, Mickey Rooney's playing somebody's grandpa. And I think Dana Carvey just did the other day. He goes, he's playing my grandfather. He goes, he's 63 in this. He goes, he looks like he's 80, but he was only 63.
Yeah,
you didn't have to work out.
You didn't have to work out, and I guess you're having whiskey lunches? Is that what's?
Oh, sure, cigarettes. You drink whiskey and cigarettes, and a steak would be your lunch until you died of colon cancer, like the Duke, like John Wayne, and that was it. You're right about that. I think Friends also messed that up a little bit when they did Friends. That kind of was like a big thing, or like 6 quote unquote attractive people in one show, and they all just happen to be funny and the chemistry is good on it. I like it all right, and it just happens that they're all talented people. But the thing that the industry controls is like, well, I can't figure out what's funny. I don't know anything about funny. I can't guarantee, but what I can guarantee is that the people are going to be good looking. Right? That's all I can guarantee.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, for those of you who are just listening, head over to YouTube and I think Rumble and wherever else you can be able to see this. Harry has got an amazing hair that you've had since, well, I don't know. I think it's been, you've always had great hair. I think it's been looking better as you've gotten older, as you've gotten closer to, are you 40 yet?
I am turning 40 this year. Yeah.
As you're getting closer to 40, like I think your hair has been looking like better than ever.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've learned how to. With wisdom comes age. With age comes wisdom, right? So I'm just learning how to comb it better. But plus, also, I will confess that it's medically enhanced. Like I take Propecia. I started losing it in my early 20s. Like it was going real quick, and thanks to medical science, I put a stop to that early with Propecia. So I kept it, and I do have a little bit of a divot and a bald spot back there that I comb. Nothing major. I have.
You're being self-deprecating. Stop self-deprecating, and let's get Propecia. Let's get Propecia to fucking sponsor this show.
Yeah, man. Because look at this head of hair.
Because it works, man. It's working. It's working for you. I have my brother had a good friend named Gabe who we went to high school with.
Yeah,
and Gabe's a Puerto Rican kid, and when he was in high school, he always shaved his head, right? And then finally, when he got older, into his 30s, he let his hair grow out, and his hair is fucking beautiful. Like You got great hair, Harry. I already said that. Gabe is at another fucking level.
He's at another level. He had
gorgeous.
Beautiful hair.
And everybody's like, oh my God, you wasted all those fucking years, shaving your head, when you could have,
you could have had a full head of hair.
Dude, maybe you could have played a professional sport just because they're like, look, he's not that good, but his hair is so good.
The marketing would be great, phenomenal. Yeah, it's that Seinfeld episode. You ever see that? Are you a Seinfeld guy at all? You remember?
No, but I've met enough people who only speak in Seinfeld references.
Yeah,
so
well, there's this.
Maybe I'll get it.
There was an episode of Seinfeld where Elaine was dating this guy. He was in great shape, and he's a swimmer, so he would shave his head. And he showed her his driver's license. He showed it to her, and he had a full head of hair. She's like, "Oh my God, you got a full head of hair?" He goes, "Yeah, that was years ago, though." She goes, "Oh my God, you should grow that back." He goes, "Yeah." And so after years of being bald, he grows it back. But as he grows it back, it's coming in patches because he has lost his hair. So now he becomes depressed because he's going bald. Even though he was bald. He's been bald, but the notion that he is now non-voluntarily bald it messes him up. And so that's a good episode of Seinfeld. It's just for you Seinfeld heads out there. It's worth it, guys. It's worth it.
That's right. Speaking about kids nowadays being able to see anything they want. I know that Seinfeld's available in full on Netflix, and I've tried to start from the beginning and get through it, but I don't know if I have the time, or like the first episodes don't seem as like they really
it's not ready yet. I don't do that. See, now as I get older, I don't waste my if there's a show that I want to get into, I will start, unless it's something where like a serial thing where I have to watch it, like a Breaking Bad. I start at season 2.5. I'll go 2.5 in, because that's when the writers figure out the characters and move on. Like, I don't got time for you guys to go through the growing pains and figure it out. Like, life is too short. So I start season 2.5 or 3, and then if I really love it, then I'll go back and start at season 1. Because I don't need to see the pilot episode where the character's different and.
It's a lot. Like, I don't know. The last time you checked out season 1, it's a lot of stand-up.
Season 1?
Yeah. It's a lot of Jerry Seinfeld doing.
Well, the whole idea of the show originally was the concept was, how does a comedian figure out the material that they're doing? Right. So it was sort of like a backwards version of that. But
was there ever another show where the main character was a stand-up comedian? And it was like, I remember George Carlin had a show, but he was a taxi driver. Like, he wasn't like George Carlin.
I don't remember him. I'm trying to think of who else was a stand-up. They rarely work, by the way. Things about stand-up are usually terrible, mostly because they hire people who are not stand-ups to do stand-up, and there's nothing worse in the world. I tried to watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or whatever, and I couldn't do it. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad show, but for me, like, if you were a plumber, you look at a show about plumbing, which is coming out this fall, by the way, Amazon Prime.
I'm gonna wait till season 2.5.
Yeah, so you wait. There's a lot of growing pains. A lot of changes. But usually shows about stand-up are so terrible because they don't let they only give so much room to people who have done stand-up to do it. So there's a lot of people who are actors that play stand-ups that are terrible at it. The writing of the jokes is horrendous when it's written by people who they're doing their impression of stand-up. So it's pretty rough. I don't remember another one other than Maisel, where the main character is a stand-up,
Yeah. I had this guy a few years ago. I'm not going to say who he was, but he has like a job in the business, in showbiz, a very important job. Like the role that he plays is very important. And he had reached out to me because we'd met, and he had like a couple of ideas for shows that he had talked to me about, and I said, yeah, send them my way, because of sort of the stature that this guy had. And I read both of them, and one of the things that I'm incapable of doing when I'm giving notes is holding back, like what I think about what what you're doing. And one of his shows, remember, I read like two scripts. One of his shows had dealt with a stand-up comedian who is an addict and goes back to the family business like that. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to give too much away because I don't know what, what's going on with, maybe it's being made right now. I don't know. And, finally we get to see the main character do some stand-up. And my God, all the scene directions are like, people are cracking up, people are laughing, they're falling out of their chairs, they're doing all this. And it's like,
that's not how it works.
Not with that material. Oh, there's no way.
There's a disconnect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Sorkin. I remember Aaron Sorkin tried to do his version of Saturday. He did a drama that was supposed to be about Saturday Night Live called Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which I think came out. It was one of those weird things where it was on the NBC schedule at the same time that they were also doing 30 Rock. So there were two shows about SNL, sort of in a long way. Yeah. One was the Tina Fey comedy, 30 Rock, and the other one was the drama Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. And it was the comedy was just bad. Like, it was really, really bad comedy, because Aaron Sorkin writes everything himself, but he's not a funny person, right? And maybe he thinks he is or whatever. But it was just rough, and you just go, Jesus, you got to have the humility to pass this to somebody and go.
Well, that's what I said. That's what I said to this guy. I said, you should really, find a female stand-up comic who you like and try to, partner and have her write this material, there's tons of, comedians out there.
How did that go over? How did they take that? Because some people can't handle it.
I don't think I could probably find the email, and maybe I'll look it up at some point, but there might've been like a thank you, like that's it.
Right. Yeah.
And also
thank you for the notes.
Thank you for the notes. And it's like, I spent some time on this shit. I gave you really good notes, dude.
Right.
But yeah, that's something too. And, I could bring this, back to like, us working together over the years, where I don't know, maybe, if you disagree with me, but I'm always of the mind of whatever makes it better. Like, dude,
sure,
if you're like, no, let me rewrite this whole thing. If it makes it better, do it. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I learned a lot writing and collaborating with you in those writer rooms that we did, that, and part of it is you have to be able to, if you're in charge of it, have the humility to go, you want the best product, right? And then on the other end, also creatively, you have to go, sometimes it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. And, you have to be able to let it go to whoever's controlling it. So there has to be a balance of being willing to go, whatever makes this better. And then sometimes creatively as an artist, you go, man, my way is better though. But that's what you believe because it's inside of you, or you picture it differently versus what someone else does. But you were always great with assigning. I mean, you also understood that what you were trying to do was do a lot more, and you were able to do a lot more and get a lot more done because you were willing to parcel it out to other people and trust other people. One of my favorite things that I ever wrote was something you assigned to me, which doesn't happen all the time. Like it was the Coming to America documentary. Right.
That's right. Yeah. To give everybody, just a little bit of background. This was Coming to America, classic Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall film.
My favorite comedy of all time.
Yeah. It before they did Coming to America, the sequel to it.
Yeah.
I had this idea years back where I had written about, basically what would Zamunda be if it was like a run-of-the-mill African monarchy. They'd be dealing with some really crazy shit. Like they'd be dealing with like AIDS, they'd be dealing with famine, they'd be dealing with all this stuff.
What are the real life consequences of running an African monarchy? Yeah,
exactly. And so I had written that up as sort of like a blog, like satirical blog entry. And then years later, when I was producing stuff for We the Internet TV, I had that idea. Oh, what if I made that into a video? And I gave it to, I assigned it to Harry, basically. And like, we kind of went over jokes in the room and all that, but he really, you took it and ran with it. Just
I mean, I was just so happy I love that movie, so I was just able to watch. As far as it was nice, it was just an excuse also to watch the whole movie again, right?
right.
But it was just a great premise. The idea of like, it's a very smart premise and a very fun premise of taking something that's fun and lighthearted and then making it dark and grim. And what are the real life consequences of this quote unquote love story? But the whole concept of it is a great idea, but you go, rather than hold on to it because I'm not going to have time to do this, and it takes a lot of trust to hand over. You pitch some general ideas and some jokes and stuff. For the most part, you gave me all that freedom to do it. Now, when I bring it back, there's going to be rewrites and things, and there's going to be chunks of it that I go, man, I wish that had stayed in. But then there's also pieces that man, I wouldn't have thought of that on my own. And that to me is the most fun part of the writing process, is when I love it when someone else thinks of something that I wouldn't have thought of on my own.
Mhm.
Or I'm always open to going, hey, I don't love this ending. I love the premise of this. I don't love this sketch. If anyone has a better way to end this, please let me know. But you have to be able to put it aside. And it's interesting because sometimes certain things make it in that you go, man, I'm surprised that one made it in out of all the things they kept. I had so many other funnier things. And then sometimes the one that made it in, which everyone loved, and it was for whatever reason, I had them doing the Zamunda Freedom concert. I don't remember why I did that. I guess they spent a lot of money. I was trying to find ways that, like, things that happen in these other
yeah, well, yeah. It's like while the people are starving, they bring all these bands from the 80s.
I
to
know what it was
perform.
based on. It was actually based on boxing. That premise in my head was the Ali Foreman fight that took place in Zaire, right? And they spent a lot of money. And the idea was, they go, people spend money on wars to get this type of publicity. So they were willing. They're not a wealthy country, but they were willing to spend that money to get that fight because they thought it would be good publicity for the country. And so that's what it was based on, those like concerts. So I had them, and I had the people of Zamunda being upset that Paul Simon was there for some reason. And the joke that you love from it is that they're angry. They go, Paul Simon, his music is too slow to be fast and too fast to be slow. And like, out of all of them, that one sticks. I'm like, man, that one slid through. They're all your little babies. And you go, well, I'm proud of all of them. But
yeah, it took a while for me to definitely be able to give up control of stuff and delegate. But ultimately, it's like, if you're trying to produce content every week, I mean, you're gonna have to do that, and in some capacity. And
but you're also great with not needing to put your stamp on it too, because some people can do that, but some people have an ego where they have to change stuff just to make sure that they put their whatever mitts on it, so to speak. Even, like I said, even sometimes when it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, someone will take out a joke and put a joke that's just the same thing, or even lesser than, just because it's their joke, And you didn't have that ego, which I always respected.
Yeah, there was this one time we were in LA, and I invited another like comedian into a like kind of a writer's room get together in LA, and it was supposed to be 2 days, and I canceled the second day just to make sure that he wasn't going to be there, because it was he wasn't getting it. It was like, no, man, I don't want to do your idea. It's not like a joke or something. It's like, I don't want to do your idea. These are the ideas we're going to do.
Right.
And like, I know what you're saying, but thing with my idea is we could do that. It's like, you're not getting it.
Right.
And also it's like, I'm paying you like, a day rate and all that. Like, but it is
taking
funny.
care of people too. Yeah. Well, that's interesting too, because there's a balance of fighting for your idea a little bit, but you also have to understand that, especially when you're working for somebody else, that, their vision is going to play out, and you have to be able to separate that, and you have to be able to accept that challenge too, of like, all right, this is not what I intended to write. And look, there were times for sure where I had a different direction entirely for something that I had either pitched or was assigned to me, where I would come up with one thing and you'd go, well, I like that, but I really would prefer this angle. And you'd explain why, and I'd have to go, you know what? I mean, and I knew enough to know, like, look, he knows what I'm doing. He just doesn't agree with it necessarily. You're funny enough to know like what I was going for, but also this is the direction of something I want to go with. You have to know, like, all right, yeah, this is what my job is.
And also you're balancing different things, me being in that position, like as a producer and head writer for We the Internet, while a lot of people think like, oh, Lou, that was, your thing. It's like, no, I was the face of it, and like the voice, and I really, brought things together with a point of view and all that. But ultimately, there's a tone and all that I have to answer to. I had to answer to higher ups, so.
And there's a branding thing too, of a style,
sure,
a certain
exactly.
style you're going for, or certain things that you have to deal with advertisers, or like the higher up of what they expect out of it.
Yeah. And also what they're willing, to put out there. And for those of you who haven't seen it, Harry played a character in 2 of my favorite videos that I watch these videos like multiple times a year. And pretty much every time I watch them, I end up texting Harry and say, like, dude, I'm watching this video again. Harry plays a gambler named Harry. And in the first video, he's betting on a high school basketball game. And it's a high school basketball game where it's like the 4th quarter, there's like 5 minutes left. And the one team puts in their kind of equipment manager who has autism. And,
and one of those feel-good stories that you'd see on Sports Center, like
exactly. But Harry's character, the gambler, has money on this game, and is so pissed off that this autistic kid is fucking it up for him.
Yeah, and again, I don't hate him because he's autistic. I hate the fact that he's ruining my chance to, if I remember in the first video, to win a round trip bus tickets to Orlando for me and my girlfriend to go to Disney World from Rochester, and her kid, who's not my kid, my stepson. But again, one of my favorite things in comedy is the real life consequences of something that's feel good and and wholesome. And the follow-up.
The follow-up is Harry the gambler is betting on high school girls wrestling.
Yeah.
And this one where this one he thinks he's got it made. And he turns around and they put in a transgender wrestler who is a born female, going to male, and has undergone testosterone.
No, the other way, right? I thought it was the other way. It was born a male.
No, a girl transitioning to boy. So like taking like testosterone, and
right.
And that blows Harry's sweet dreams of getting a plasma screen TV,
a flat screen. I wanted a flat screen TV so that finally my girlfriend and her son would respect me. Would be wanting to watch TV at my place instead of the standard definition TV, which I had.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, these are 2 of my fucking videos to be a part of.
That second one, I think, is going to be hard for people to find. I think the company has subsequently unlisted that one. I think you can find it. It's a little bit of a deep dive, but the second one was too much for them, I think, because they're trying to quote unquote go mainstream. So they go, we don't want one, even though it's not making fun of trans athletes at all. It's making the joke is on the gambler, who's such an addicted gambler that he cares nothing about what this situation is, other than it is ruining he is the unluckiest gambler in the world. But people unfortunately don't know the difference between referencing a subject and then making fun of it. So,
So for those of you who are looking for it, if you can find it, I don't think you could find it on YouTube. You might be able to find it on Facebook. If you put in We the Internet TV, the first one is like never bet against the autistic kid, which is fantastic advice. And then the other one is never bet against trans athletes. And if you could find it, you guys will enjoy it. You'll enjoy it so much. If anybody finds a link to it, please, list it in the comments.
I'll see if I have them. I'll send it. I'll either post it in the comments or I'll send it to you. Maybe you can post it or whatever. But
cool, yeah, because I think the writing is so good on it, and Harry's performance is so good. And Greg, our mutual friend, Greg Burke, and my longtime comedy partner, he directed and edited it, and that was
my favorite portion of doing that gambling. The first one was halfway through while we're filming it. I go, wait a minute. Is he beating? What did he bet on here? Because if we look at the actual, because it's based on an actual event that happened. I go, wait, are they putting him in the game because the score is out of hand because they're out of the game? Or are they up so much? I go, then we have to determine did he bet the spread? Then we're trying to figure out, wait, no. He's betting against the spread.
Yeah. Thank God, and thank God you were in it. And Luke Spallino was, he was interning at the time and also working with me on like developing like
That's
ideas
right.
and stuff.
He was a bit of a gambler. So
yeah.
he knew.
So thank God you and Luke were there, and Greg, because Greg knows sports. You know sports and gambling. Luke, well, as well. Because I think I wrote that first script, and I was just kind of like I don't know.
Yeah, it occurred to me. I go, they got to ruin. So we wanted to be factually accurate about this piece where this guy's screaming at this autistic kid to somebody to break his legs.
Foul that autistic kid. Break his legs if you have to.
Break his legs if you have to. And then I'm upset people are giving me dirty looks.
Yeah, they're giving me the looks.
I'm not the one who just let up. Yeah, he trained.
He like 6 3-pointers. What the fuck? Oh, man.
Yeah, that one was one I was lucky to just be cast, and you guys thought of me. And then I was asked to write the second one. You just go, write up another one of those. And I go, all right. What's the next one?
I think you and Brandon Basham worked on that one. Brendan had a great line about benzos.
Benzo. Yeah, I got kicked off the bowling team snorting benzo.
We're snorting benzos.
Yeah, but that was another one. I don't remember if it was given to me with that, or I had to figure out what I think I figured out that it was a trans athlete was the way to go. I was trying to figure out what you would do with the second one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I wish
we could. I mean, we could very well, write another one. It was sort of like at that point, it's like, all right, you got the autistic kid, you got the trans athlete. It's like, what do you got next? I mean, what can you
thought about it? I'm trying to figure out what the third beat of this, or how you heighten it, or what would be the equivalent. It has to be something that kind of happens in real sports.
Right.
And I think I kicked around a couple in my head, because I think once in a while you mentioned that if you have one. I was trying to think the 9/11, the Yankees and whatever after 9/11, where George Bush throws out the first pitch, was one. It has to be something where he's just so blissfully unaware of reality and is just focused on this game that he's losing, Yeah. But man, yeah, it was a lot of fun doing it, because when you work with smart, funny people, it's the fucking best. It's the best.
Yeah, that's why when I watch like comedy, I'm like, look, comedy is is hard, but it's not that hard. And I see like people with like a lot of money and a lot of budgets, and I'm like, God damn, man, like you guys are just wasting it. So,
well, the thing is it's an interesting balance. The comedy, to me, I think comedy is hard, right? I look at it as it is hard. Here's how hard stand-up comedy is. Other comedians can't do it. You know what I mean? But I guess you're speaking comedy in general. But
I'm talking from the point of like producing an episode of a show, producing a sketch, that like especially if you have money. I like to me, it's sort of like inexcusable if you have
if you have a lot of money. But having a lot of money doesn't mean that it's good creatively. We see films all the time, but there's also a lot of people who get in the way of that sort of stuff, getting in the way of the creative. Look, nobody grows up as a kid and goes, man, you know what? I want to be a movie executive when I grow up, right? Nobody goes, I want to be a network executive. Nobody goes, when I grow up, I want to be in casting, just like my heroes in the movies. It's usually people who failed at the creative part. And it's ironic because they work their way up in the business part. So now these are people who failed at the creative part, and now they're going to dictate what is done in the creative part. So there's probably a lot of things. We all know friends who are really talented friends who never get the break, or you go, that person is so much funnier, or that show was so much funnier than this other thing that got the mainstream press. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, some of it is that the people with the most money aren't always the cleverest people. I know from doing stand up, the people who are the best at producing shows and stuff are seldom the best comedians ever. That's almost never the case. In fact, it's almost
Another
always,
skill. Yeah, it's a different
yeah,
skill.
it's a completely other skill, and it's almost the opposite, because the people who put their energy into producing don't always put their energy into writing and creating, right? So that's also part of it, man. You know, not everyone's
It's
got money.
something I've always noticed with producers of stand-up shows. And I produced a couple of show in New York and in LA, small stuff. Is whenever you're producing the show and say you don't have like a good turnout, you're
Yeah,
so apologetic to everybody. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like
yeah,
it's a small crowd. I hope you're okay. And the comedians are always like, hey, it's cool. Don't worry about it. No, this should be fun.
yeah,
And I'm the same way when it's reversed. When I'm not producing, when I'm booked on the show and I go and the
yeah,
producer's like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's a small crowd and all that. I'm like, no,
yeah,
it's cool, man. It's great.
yeah.
Let's have a good time. So yeah, it's sort of, you know, being able to handle those added pressures, or
Yeah, it's a
big
different
part of
skill
it.
set entirely. But again, like I've seen people with great production. There's nothing worse to me than someone who has like a really good budget. Well, that's why sometimes SNL is tough, right? Like where you
It's like
watch
you
these.
built this set. It's like you built
I
this
mean,
freaking set, man.
so many people worked on that. So many people
Right.
were. I remember they did a sketch one time where they built an escalator so that the escalator people could get stuck on the escalator, and then it became like an adventure film where they were stuck on the escalator, and you just go. In my head, from you're a production guy or whatever, in the sense of like anytime you have to film something, you go, all right, you have to figure out how to do it from the ground up, and you realize, do you know how many people had to work on an escalator for this
Mm.
sketch to air at 12:55 that is getting 0 laughs? Right, and you just
Yeah.
go, "Damn, man," like, just or a film shoot, and then sometimes
Yeah.
it works out great, I mean, I remember they did that Oscar the Grouch parody that was a Joker parody or whatever,
Right. Right.
and they did it almost shot for shot, and you go, "Oh, okay, that was really cool. That is amazing that they have the budget to do that." And then other times you go, "This is involves so many union crews." I
Yeah.
mean, just so many
Well,
people, and I'm
it
glad
seems like
glad they're
they
working, but
they do the it seems like they do the like film parodies very well. Like they're able to
yeah.
really match. They're able to match the tone and
And I I
and all that.
wonder if part of that is that they have to really, I guess because you have to go out and film it, there's locations and stuff, maybe they're a little choosy with how they do that, as opposed to
Mm.
the sketches in the building where they're like, "Yeah, if it's here." I mean, they did one with Lizzo where they had 20, I wanna say 20 people dressed up as a Six Flags guy just doing that dance, right? They're just
Oh,
doing
really? Oh,
that dance. That was really the premise of it, and I know what that was. That was people tired at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to write and giggling, going, wouldn't it be hilarious if we just had 20 of these Six Flag guys just dancing?" And it's funny in that moment, and then you put it on like, and
yeah.
somehow it makes it through through the read through, makes it through dress rehearsal, and it's on national
This
TV.
this really old reference.
It, yeah,
Robbie Sublett played him in
I
one of
do
the
remember
Hammerkatz
Robbie
sketches.
Sublett. Yes,
Yeah.
and he did a
So for
great
those,
job.
yeah, I mean, Robbie's a fantastic actor. We so Harry and I were members of the Hammerkatz at NYU, which is a sketch group that is still going, actually. And we did basically what Mr. Show would do, which is combine stage performance with film stuff. So it was never a lights up, lights down production. It was always one thing rolling into one sketch rolling into the other one, and one of the sketches, Robbie plays the old man at Six Flags. I don't know what his name is, and he's like dancing, whatever, and he lures Matt Sadowitz, and
And
I don't know if
Steven
it
Stout.
was
I
it
think
Matt
it
and
was.
Steven.
That's
Okay,
my memory of it. Was Matt and Steven Stout
yeah,
uh,
he lures them into a van
by
because
dancing. They're
by
all having
dancing
fun.
and they're going to go to Six Flags. They're going with this guy, so they go in the van, and then the music's playing. He shuts the van door, the back doors.
He
The
locked the
music
van
cuts
door.
out, locks him, and then Robbie just like walks around, to go to the front of it and just like spits. And it's one of the it's I'm thinking about it now. I don't know if it's available anywhere to watch it, but it's so dark once he spits on the concrete.
And then he starts ripping the mask off. I mean, this was before Heath Ledger, the Joker type. It's that level of like he's no longer having fun. But also, in all fairness, we did that. That was when the commercial was airing. So it wasn't
right, yeah. We didn't wait for Lizzo to fucking pop up
at decades after the fact.
Yeah.
Well, that was a genius sketch group, man. It was this ties into me meeting you, right? And this is a little bit of ego on my part, right? So I met you and I liked you instantly. We were both New York guys and we both had a goofy sense of humor in this comedy writing class. And then I don't remember if you told me you were auditioning for this sketch team called Hammerkatz, right? And in my head, I go, I don't want to, man, I'm a stand-up. I had already been doing stand-up at that point. Like I would like 2 years in New York City nightclubs. And I go, man, I don't want to do no lame lame college comedy group where we do skits and goofy sketches. Like this is going to be lame. And Lou had auditioned and made it on the team. And Lou invited me out to see the show. And I went out to see the show. And the show was so good. And it was like so good, like beyond a college level. I go, oh my God, this is like professional production level stuff. Like it's well written. It's structured properly. The acting is good. I go, I made a horrible mistake. I went to Lou. I go, when are they doing auditions again? For the love of God, I need to be part of this. And then I think the next semester or whatever, I did audition and got in. And to this day, I think it's the only audition that I've ever done and gotten. That I've got, that I got all the way through it. I've gotten callbacks and stuff, but not to brag, humble brag. I've gotten callbacks, so I mean, I'm in the biz a little bit.
I know what a callback is, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I've heard of them. So, but it was that was such a cool group, and we're very lucky to have been part of that. It was just a right place, right time. Like a lot of talented people, including Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover, who was brilliant even back then.
Yeah, I mean, when I wasn't on the team the first semester that it existed. I think it was on technically the second semester. The second semester, the second year. That's when I joined up, and I mean, all of that, the professionalism and all that is due to the founder and director AJ Morales.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And I haven't spoken to AJ in a while, but I mean, when it comes to to Hammerkatz, I mean, he's the reason why we were as good as we were, and also, we were dark, really dark. Like a lot of the comedy that we would do was really fucked up, and there was a lot of pain too in a lot of the performances, like finding humor in incredibly painful situations.
But I think to me that's the funniest stuff. But I guess that's not everybody is. Not everyone is into it being dark, and a guy from Six Flags. Basically, I mean, we didn't say he was a child molester, but that was the bit. Was that he was?
I mean, he definitely was going to molest. We don't know if he was going to molest them when they were alive, or if he was going to kill them first. But
because that's the best case scenario, was that it would be while they were alive, that he kept them alive in that sketch. But yeah, we liked the dark stuff. We were all of the same mindset, but I don't know, some people don't dig the dark humor, don't understand that you can make fun of that stuff. It's interesting because nowadays I don't know what's on and off limits anymore as far as mainstream stuff goes. So like the Johnny Depp, I think SNL this weekend did a Johnny Depp Amber Heard sketch, right? And so you go, is that fair game? And they did one that seemed like fair game, which is interesting because they did a sketch, but the focus of the sketch was more that they discovered dog shit in the bed, right? That they it was more about them showing a piece of evidence that was the house staff finding the dog crap in the bed. And but again, that's fine because you can justify it by going, hey, they're not making fun of domestic violence. But at the same time, sometimes people don't get that. Even just, there could be an article going, I wouldn't be surprised if there is an article of somebody going, "Oh, well, it's not domestic. This is a serious matter. Domestic violence is a serious matter, and if it's off limits."
Yeah, I had a joke where I said, call me old fashioned, but I believe the man should be the abuser in the relationship.
Right.
Call me old fashioned.
Call me old fashioned.
Call me old fashioned.
Which is playing on it's playing an idiot, like a stereotype of like, my problem with this is that the man should be. So that's what I don't like about it. It's just having fun with like, confident idiot is the character. I think
confident. Yeah.
Martin Short, I think, said that the confident idiot is the greatest character. It's really what most characters are, is a person who thinks that they're the smartest person in the room when they're the dumbest.
Yeah. And committing to that too. And also playing that character to the top of his intelligence, to the top of the idiot's intelligence is so it's
important.
A
delicate balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance, man. I had so much fun with all that stuff and learning and performing when it's done with sketch. I mean, it's like any form of comedy. When it's well written, when it's done well, it's great. There's nothing better. And when it's done poorly, there's nothing worse. Just comedy is oof. When it's done poorly, there's nothing more painful.
I've been last time I talked to Greg, we were talking about how he's gone back. It was after was it Scott Hall passed away? The
wrestler.
Guy?
Yes, the wrestler. Scott Hall.
Yeah. So Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, he passed away, and that had sort of inspired Greg to go back and watch wrestling clips from that time period of like the NWO and stuff.
Sure.
Wrestling and he was absolutely loving it because he's like, holy shit, they're doing sketch comedy. That's what they're doing. Like they're some of the stuff is so ridiculous, but they're committed to it so hard.
Sure.
And he was just talking about how, how great that was. And for those who don't know this, but you also have experience as an announcer in wrestling too. Right?
Yeah. I would do announcing and managing, and I was what we call a heel and a bad guy in the business. And I was the guy that I would do a lot of comedy in it too. And it's the same thing though. It can really be bad if it's not done properly and people don't know what they're doing. But there's nothing greater than having people boo you when you're a bad guy. It's as much adulation as getting laughs, like to the point where people are chanting your name negatively. And then when you get kicked off an apron and fall down onto the floor, when people cheer, like the idea that somebody would get kicked in the face and people would cheer, like a person who's not a competitor. Like imagine any other sport where a non-competitor was just kicked full on in the face and the people go, yeah. And they all get up and cheer. I mean, there's comedy in that is so much. I was the owner. I was the evil owner of a company I was working for, and I did a fan appreciation night. And I said, "Welcome to Fan Appreciation Night, a night where you, the fans, get to show your appreciation for me, the owner of such and such wrestling." And man, I love doing comedy in that. I mean, there's nothing better, dude. There's nothing better than hanging out with funny people. When somebody is funny and they tell an interesting story and it hits, and everybody, that's nothing better. It's so much harder, and it's also the hardest thing to do in the world, really, to me. Because even stand-up is hard, right? Like public speaking is the number one fear in the world. It's the number one fear people have, not death. Second is death. Public speaking is number one. And then, so that's already the number one fear. And making people laugh is the hardest form of public speaking. Anyone can get up and deliver a speech and have it be uneventful or boring or quiet or dramatic. But making people laugh is the hardest thing.
Yeah. And I have to say too, like, this conversation right now, and also getting, hanging out with you, seeing each other, over the years, whether it's at, like a show or get-togethers with family stuff and all that. There is something about me hanging out with my funny friends, my funny professional comedy friends, that not only is it, just all joy, but also it is sort of that nostalgia trip and transport where I feel like we're back in our 20s
Sure.
even though we're grown men, and someone
Because we're
who
grown men who do silly things,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, out of all of our friends, like Gregor is one of those guys where anytime I'm in his presence for even a minute, I feel like I'm younger again. He
Oh,
has
he's a
that.
Hilarious dude.
He's
He's just
hilarious, and
Dan
he
Greger
has
is hilarious. Yeah.
and he has that vibe about him too, where it's just yeah, he's got
Yeah,
it.
he's another brilliant guy from Hammerkatz. I mean, that was a very loaded group of people who happen to be at the right, like all together at the same time, and a lot of them have gone on to really successful career. I think Dan Greger and Doug Mann they've been writing for Disney and have the Chippendales movie coming out.
Chippendales movie, which I'm hearing
That's
really
there,
great
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, and normally I
Yeah.
wouldn't, normally I would just be happy for my friends, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't. But I'm like, that movie's not necessarily for me. But now that I have kids, it's like, oh well, I'm probably gonna,
Right.
definitely gonna see this this movie.
Now is your chance to enjoy that. Youth comedy keeps you young in a way. Like Donnell Rollins talked about this. He goes, he would do a Thanksgiving show every year at his hometown because he goes home for Thanksgiving. So on like the Friday he would do this big show, and his friends from high school, all his friends that he grew up with, come out to that show.
Oh,
and then
awesome.
one time he looked at him just recently. He goes, "Man, look at these old motherfuckers!" Right? He goes, "Oh man, these guys are so old." And he goes, "Wait a minute, I went to high school with them. I'm the same age." He goes, "What?" He goes, "Oh man!" But Donnell is a comedian, right? So he is living in a very young business, a youthful, just hanging out with the most interesting people in the world, and still being in the life of the party, even in however old he is, 50 or whatever. That he doesn't think of himself as old until he sees everyone else around him going, "Oh man." Right? Because comedy keeps you young. It's a youthful business, and I hope that I could do it forever. Jeez.
Right on. Well, Harry, my friend, thank you so much for joining me. Where can we'll check out your stuff?
You can find all my social media is at Harry Terjanian, just my name. And you can find there's a lot of YouTube clips. I'm putting stuff on TikTok, Instagram, everything at Harry Terjanian. You can see my stand-up clips there. Check it out. And then I'm going to see if I can try to post the clips of the Gambler, and hopefully that'll be out on my social media before
cool.
you. So check it out.
For those of you, Terjanian is spelled Terjanian.
That's
Harry
right.
Terjanian.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I'm gonna sign off now. Thank you so much for listening. And again, please order my book, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, on the death and rebirth of comedy. Just follow the link in the description or head over to Amazon and search for Lou Perez, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. And please subscribe to my podcast. Leave a 5-star review. Why not? Sign up for my newsletter at thelouperez.com. And if you want other ways to support my work, you can join thelouperez.locals.com. And of course, be sure to support my sponsors, PalomaVerdeCBD.com. Use promo code Lou for 25% off purchases over $75, and Black Organic Cold Brew, BLVCKBREW.com. Use promo code Lou for free shipping. Thank you.